Hey everybody. I apologize, this is coming to you a little bit late for the Mexico worksheets, but I just wanted to go over what we were doing this week. Here's our course homepage, and we're going to be doing some Mexico worksheets, impact of the past and political institutions worksheets. You're also going to do a Mexican muralists project, and I'll go over what that means. In this recording, I'm also going to go over the revolutionary components chart that you guys will have due on the next grading period. So that's why this recording is titled Mexico and Revolutionary Components. I think I'm going to start with the Mexico worksheet. So the first one, I believe this is probably impact of the past. So it is just what it says, a history of Mexico. And the first thing I ask you to do is this map right here, but also fill in these answers right here. Which civilization lived mostly on the Yucatan Peninsula? That would be the Mayan. What was the chief city of the Aztec civilization? That was Tenochtitlan. And which was the earliest Mexican civilization? Those folks were the Olmec. Okay, so that's the first thing you do right there. If you don't have paint or you can't do it on your computer, you can always print this off, color it in, and take a picture of it and upload that. That's perfectly fine. All right, so for the next few questions, here are the answers. I apologize if you hear my dogs barking back there. Okay, so the Olmecs built the first civilization in the Americas around 1200 BC. They decorated their cities with large carved statues, some standing as tall as 10 feet high, weighing over 20 tons. They also carved smaller, more personal objects out of jewelry like jade. This was a local shiny stone that came in all different colors of green. The Olmecs were the first to grow maize to feed many people. They built large drainage systems to direct the rainwater away from their fields. The Maya, these people lived in the rainforests of the Yucatan Peninsula and the surrounding areas from 250 AD to 900. It was their religion that held their society together. They studied the heavens. They developed a calendar that held 365 days. They built large stone temples in the shapes of pyramids with steps. The Kukulkan temple is unique in that it has 364 steps, with the top step making 365, just like the days in the year. The Maya developed hieroglyphics, which is a form of writing that uses signs and symbols around 900 AD. The Aztec, around 1200, these people called Mexica moved into central Mexico from the north. The Spanish later called these people the Aztec. The capital of the Aztec Empire was Tenochtitlan. Mexico's capital, Mexico City, stands on this site today. Tenochtitlan was originally built on two islands in the middle of Lake Texcoco. In the city of Tenochtitlan, merchants traded gold, silver, and pottery. The flag of modern Mexico honors the ancient civilization. In the center of the flag is the Aztec symbol, which is an eagle with a snake in its beak. So that's where they get their flag. In Spanish Mexico, 1519, a Spanish army led by Hernan Cortez, landed on Mexico's Gulf Coast. Cortez and about 600 soldiers marched to Tenochtitlan, where they heard that this city was filled with gold. At this time, the Aztec had about 6 million people. Cortez was able to defeat the Aztec in about 2 years because the Spanish had better weapons. They had swords, muskets, cannons, and horses. So it was your Spanish priests that came to Mexico, and many Native Americans accepted their teaching. Today, about 90% of Mexico's people follow the Roman Catholic religion. Moving to independence and revolution in 1810, the people of Mexico rallied behind a Catholic priest, Miguel Hidalgo, who led an army of peasants in a revolt. 1821, Mexico won its independence from Spain. Soon after independence, Mexico's northern province of Texas fought for and won its own independence. 1846, the United States fought Mexico in a dispute over the southern boundary of Texas. In the Treaty of Guadalupe, which ended the war, and Mexico gave up its claims to Texas to the United States. Other territory that Mexico lost to the United States, not states, included what are today the states of Utah, California, and Nevada. So for many years, rich families, army officers, and Catholic church leaders held most of the power and wealth in Mexico. In 1910, the Mexican peasants revolted, which, by the way, I'm going to stop right here and say that when you get ready to do your revolutionary components chart, this is the revolution for Mexico you'll talk about. Emiliano Zapata commanded a rebel army, seized many of the large haciendas, and divided the land among the poor. Also, Pancho Villa tried to help the poor in the northwest area. Okay, so that's our Mexico impact of the past worksheet. Okay. The political institutions worksheet. The key institutions. Citizens of Mexico directly elect their president, the Chamber of Deputies, representatives, and senators, as well as a host of the other state and local officials. The parties have overlapping constituencies, which are described below in the typical voter profiles. To help you get started, think about the socioeconomic income of the voter, religious views, age, education. So you can also use the resources provided in the more resources sidebar, or you can just listen to this. So here are your different political parties to fill in this worksheet. So you have your PRI, which is these people come from the small towns or rural. They're less educated. They're older. They're poor. They usually belong to this party. The PAN or the PAN is from the north, the middle class, professional, business, urban. They're better educated, at least some high school or college, religious, and they are less strict about separation of church and state. The PDR. These are your younger, politically active, from the central states, some education, small town or urban, drew some middle class and older voters in 2006. So, under the PRI control, elections were typically fraudulent, with the patron-client system encouraging bribery and favor swapping. If you don't know what patron-client system is, it's one of your key terms for this unit. 2000 brought the PAN candidate Vicente Fox into the presidency. The newly competitive electoral system encouraged coalitions to form to the left and the right of the PRI and split in votes, which could encourage gridlock, which is a phenomenon unknown to Mexico under the old PRI-controlled governments. When the votes were counted in the presidential election on July 2nd, 2006, PAN candidate Felipe Calderon and PDR candidate Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador were virtually tied for the lead. So the official vote tally put Calderon ahead by about 230,000 votes. Obrador challenged the results as fraudulent and demanded a recount. The election tribunal investigated. They ordered a recount of 9% of the districts, found results unchanged, with Calderon winning the presidency. So Obrador refused to accept the tribunal's decision and claimed the presidency was stolen from him. And this worksheet's actually old because they have a new president now. The legislative elections of 2006 changed the power and balance of the PRI. They lost heavily in both houses. The PAN party received modest gains in the Chamber of Deputies, and the PDR gained many seats in both houses. So in the midterm election of 2009, both PAN and PDR lost a significant number of seats, and the PRI almost doubled the number of seats it held in the chamber. Although Cauldron reminded the voters of the PRI's corruption, the PRI successfully countered with the slogan of proven experience, new attitude. The party's almost certainly was helped by the factional splits of the PDR that made Obrador's leadership of that party controversial. So the results of this election meant that Cauldron would govern for the last 3 years of his presidency, with the legislature dominated by another party, the PRI. A situation that almost certainly makes it more difficult for him to get his initiatives passed. However, Mexico now has another president, Nieto, and so he is part of the... Well, you tell me what party he's a part of. I'll let you look that up. And you can add it to the end of this worksheet. Might give you a little extra credit for that if you get it right. Okay, so that's Mexico, and those are the answers to that. I apologize for getting this in late, okay? Now, I also want to talk to you about the revolutionary components chart. Now, this is something that you will do next grading period. This isn't to be turned in this week with Mexico work. This is the following work. So what you're going to do, and this can kind of get you started on this. So what I want from you is for you to go through each of our core countries, China, Russia, Mexico, Great Britain, Iran, and Nigeria, and talk about the revolution that brought their current government into power. Okay, so for China, it's Chiang Kai-shek. Okay, Russia, it is the fall of the USSR, the current Russian Federation. Just talked about Mexico and Diaz in that revolution. Great Britain, that's going to be the Glorious Revolution, Great Britain. Iran, their last revolution was in 1979 when the fall of the Shah of Iran. Okay, and then Nigeria, poor Nigeria, goes through a lot. There is a series of coups that happened in the 1960s with Nigeria. So here, I'm just really looking at the very first one in 1960. But any of those coups, I mean, they happen so fast. They turn over so fast. And so if you look here on the left side of this chart, you have the oppressors. Those are the people that are causing the revolution, okay? The radicals, the people who fight against the oppressors, okay? We'll take Great Britain as an example because James II was the king that got kicked out and William and Mary took over. Who are the leaders? Some of this you can kind of think about yourself. And the reason you're doing this chart, there's a couple of reasons you're doing this chart. You're doing this chart because it's a good study tool. You're also doing this chart because there's an essay that you're going to have to write based on this information, explaining each of these revolutions. Okay? So I'm giving you the information for you to be able to write this essay. And it's a nice little study tool. So your radicals, who are your leaders of your radicals? Who are the terrorists, if you will? Okay, who are the masses? Who are the majority peoples? Okay, who are the martyrs? Okay, and you can take some liberty with this. What kind of propaganda was used? All right, what was being said? Okay, what was the theme of the revolution if it had one? Okay? If you think about the theme, well, in Iran, not only was it a student protest, but remember, who did they call the Great Satan? Well, that was the United States. Okay, why did they do that? Why did they call the United States the Great Satan? What was the cause? Okay, what was the cause, the underlying cause for Iran? They wanted to return to Shiism. The Shah was very, you would say, liberal, I guess, in his religious thinking, and they wanted to go back to a more conservative way. Who got recognition? Okay, who got recognition? Anything else? There's a couple more. Here's some more recognition, right? What kind of resources did they help them? Okay, for Iran got help from Iraq. Iran got help from the USSR because, I mean, what's the old saying? The enemy of my friend is, or the enemy of my enemy is my friend, I think. Okay, and what started it off? The spark. What was the spark that started it off? Okay. So hopefully this will help you, and you can write all of this down. You can turn in this chart, but mainly what I'm going to be concentrating on is the essay that you write. Okay? All right. So hopefully this has helped you. Like I said, this revolutionary chart that goes not this week but next week on the not the Mexico work, but the revolutionary components with the revolutionary component essay. Our Mexico essay, that is for this week. I apologize, I'm getting this out to you later than I intended. And then here's the impact of the past, okay? Real quick, let me show you also for this week. So we have that impact of the past, the institutions, the Mexican student movement. Take a look at that. I think you'll be surprised in light of what's happened in the last month or so with the latest school shootings. But also you have this Mexican Muralists project. Let me show you what that is. So if I come up here to course materials, I click on content, and I come right down here to Mexico, you'll see this. And let me just go right here. Not there. Muralist project. Okay. First of all, it probably is going to tell you also need to put a copy in the discussion board. You do not need to do that. Also, it's going to tell you to use Glogster. You do not need to use Glogster. You can use any tool that you like. So what I want you to do is do an internet search on these artists, because this was the way that political propaganda was shown in Mexico. So you'll give a little bit of information about each of these artists, and then you will put together a collection of pictures that shows the current climate of Mexican government as you see it, okay? You make a collage, if you will. Go grab some pictures off the internet, put them in a Word document, or you can use PowerPoint if you prefer, and then just turn that in. Here's the project. Here's some short questions about each of the artists. And then it's the design your own mural. Just put some pictures together. Think about what Mexico's current political climate is, what the culture looks like. Show me what that means or says to you in form of pictures. Put that in a Word document. Does not have to be Glogster. Does not have to be Glogster. If you want to use Glogster, fine, but it does not have to be. And then turn that in. Okay. As always, if you have any questions or need any additional help, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to give you some more information. Also, I hope you read the resource, Understanding Mexico's Political Parties, okay, because it's pretty good. This is a good little explanation of what PRI, PAM, PDR, all of these different types of political parties. We only think of political parties as being two because we only have two, but most countries have more than two. So give this a look. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.